The following is a presentation of the Mat Talk Podcast Network.
You are now logged into WarUp on the WPIAL, featuring your hosts Greg Warnock and Jeff Upson. PA Power Wrestling. Pennsylvania is wrestling.
Welcome into WarUp on the WPIAL. Greg Warnock alongside Jeff Upson. It is POWERade week. You ready?
I'm ready, man. I've been ready. This is not Christmas week. This is POWERade week. You notice I'm not wearing an ugly Christmas sweater. I'm wearing my POWERade shirt because it's POWERade week.
So do you wear it every day, POWERade shirt?
No, I mean, I would say almost every day I have a wrestling shirt on of some type, but today it's POWERade.
Well, before we jump into POWERade and talk about all the different weight classes with the seeds being out, let's first talk about this past weekend and as well as the past week's wrestling results. Not a lot of notable results on Wednesday, but one that stuck out to me prior to the quad meet when we got into it. Hempfield beating Latrobe. A tight one, though, 37-33. A couple guys out for Hempfield, but that was surprising.
Yeah, and that was even with a Verkleeren pin of Pletcher, which I thought was a toss-up match. So that very easily could have went Latrobe's way. And we'll talk about it a little bit from now. But Hempfield, they've got some holes. There's some chinks in the armor for sure. So and we'll talk about that.
Without Ethan Bergen, so that definitely is a big factor at 120, where Nate Roth picked up a forfeit. So that's a 12-point swing right there, but you mentioned it. I think Pletcher ends up beating Verkleeren in some cases, and that's a 9-point swing. So that one's a pretty close one. So either Latrobe is better than we thought they were, or Hempfield just may not be up to snuff.
Yeah, I mean, and I do have Latrobe ranked in the state, so it's not like they're completely overlooked. They're a young team though, and Hempfield, I think they've got some work cut out for them.
Speaking of the quad meet, Seneca Valley rolls off a pair of victories, as does Cannon McMillan in this one. Cannon McMillan beats Hempfield 39-27. They also beat Kiski 32-30. Seneca Valley 35-29 over Kiski, and Seneca Valley 46-23 over Hempfield. Who were you most impressed with?
I got to say Seneca Valley, because I was not saying I was down on them, but I was definitely not as high on them as I was Hempfield or Kiski or even Cannon Mac, and they just came in and just that first match, we were filming the Cannon Mac and Hempfield match, and we're kept on looking over like, man, Seneca Valley's keeping this close. Seneca Valley's ahead. Seneca Valley's going to win. So there was a lot of good action going on there. And it started off at 106. Hunter Swedish for Seneca Valley was able to get a hard-fought win over Antonio Giordano 11-7. And then the biggest match I thought of their early rounds was Tyler Chappell from Seneca Valley, a very, very undersized 106-pounder, goes to 113 and beats Ryan Klingensmith, another freshman, 4-3, to put them up right away 6-0, which I thought for sure Kiski would probably come away with 6 the other way for that, depending on where they had some guys in the lineup, but that was pretty big. Evan Vetter got a good win, and then Dylan Chappell grinded out a hard-fought win against Dom Giordano. So right away, Seneca Valley just rolled off. I mean, Kiski area didn't get their first win until 160 pounds. So just a fantastic start for Seneca Valley there. Chan Shear gets a fall. I thought that was huge. Emilio gets a fall. And if you look, we only had Sammy Starr, not as opposed to Enzo Meraki in the lineup there. So, and we had talked to Chris Heater about that last week about how they're going to fit those two in. The guys up top did well for Kiski. Sammy was able to get a major decision. Jack Bloomer got a fall. And then Nick Delp got a fall. Roskowski got a major decision, but it just wasn't enough.
Yeah, and Seneca Valley's weakness is up top, so we do know that. They do win a couple of swing matches. Dylan Chappell was very undersized at 126. I know they bump him up. He's weighing in at 120. I think he's going to eventually be down to 113 if I had to guess, just because I thought he even mentioned, I heard him say when he came off the mat that he was just too strong for him at 126. So to have him bump against good to great or strong wrestlers at 126, It's tough. And Seneca Valley, that's what they need, though, I think, to be competitive, is him up at 126 in the team duels.
Yeah, I mean, obviously the flexibility helps. And, they're just so solid throughout that middleweight. And I was really impressed with Drew Vlasnik. He was able to get a major decision over Meraki 11-3. So
that was surprising, too.
Yeah.
That he got a major on that.
Agreed. And, that was big. So you saw some really good fight from Seneca Valley, and I got to be honest with you, I was surprised, and then to see them do it again in the next round against Hempfield, you thought, man, they're for real. They're for real.
And you look on the other side for Cannon McMillan, who won both of their matches. And they did it while getting a couple of surprise results as well. Now, Kiski does not get Enzo Merlaki in the lineup against Canamac, but they got some good ones. I mean, Sam Starr picking up a fall on Tanner O'Haley. I think that was a bit of a surprise. Nick Delp getting a fall on Matt Furman. I think that was a bit of a surprise. So, and then you look at Braden Roskowski getting a fall on Tyler O'Haley. So Kiski got some big wins and some big falls to almost end up pulling it out, right? Stone Joseph defeats Giomar Ramos, and then all of a sudden Kiski wins this match. So
yeah, I mean,
they're close together, but Kiski got some good results.
Yeah, and Canamac was down Costa Moore. They were missing Costa Moore in the lineup there. So Giordano beat Jacob Gardner. That was a hard-fought win for him. And if you remember, Jacob Gardner got an unsportsmanlike conduct calling him. So should they have tied, Kiski area would have won that bout, that match. But I can't say I was totally surprised with some of the results there. Jimmy Baxter got a fall for Canamac, which I wasn't surprised.
I think the biggest thing with Kiski is that their lightweights are just they have a lot of room for improvement. I guess you could say that, just because the guys they have in there right now, just were giving up too many bonus points. Yeah,
Connor Murray down beneath, giving up bonus points. Ethan Connor losing a tough one to Tyler Soule. Sammy Starr, as you mentioned, gets that big pin against Tanner O'Haley. I was not surprised that Bloomer and Delp got falls. Delp's a senior going against a freshman. I would expect him to get bonus points here. Jared Sergio from Kiski area kept Garrett Ninehouse to a major decision. That to me was way more impressive than Nick Delp getting that fall. And then Evan Miller had a nice win over Jack Diltz. I thought he was going to stall him out. I thought we were eventually going to see a technical violation for stalling too much there. And as you mentioned, Giomar Ramos was able to come away with a 3-1 win over Stone Joseph. But these guys are going to see each other again.
Yeah, no doubt about it. Should be a lot of fun to see how these teams wrestle here in the postseason, throwing Waynesburg into that mix. But it was good to see those teams together. I love that they do this quad meet.
Yeah, I mean, I literally, it's the best time because you have guys before the drop, and we're going to see these four teams most likely wrestle in some capacity again, and the lineups are going to be very different. Strategy's going to be a little different. It's going to be a lot of fun.
Beasts of the East, Waynesburg and North Allegheny wrestled there this past weekend, so those are the two teams in the mix with those additional four. You look at some of the medalists from the WPIAL at 106. Mac Church, after a second-place finish at Ironman, finishes in fifth place here.
Yeah, but he took McGowan, the guy from Blair, cadet world champion who he wrestled in the Ironman finals. He took him the tiebreaker, so definitely a closer result than the last time. Look, Beast is a tough tournament. There's no doubt about it.
Yeah, it's taken some shots, though. It used to be the tournament.
Yeah, back in the day, it used to be, but then you had some things happen, and Ironman, obviously, Ohio teams were not going out there for a while, and yeah, but Beast is, I'd say it's getting stronger over the past years.
132 pounds, Cole Hammett of Waynesburg finishing in 8th place. Also for the WPIAL, Wyatt Henson at 138. He finishes in 3rd place.
Yeah, that was a good rebound for him. He had a couple tight matches there, and I thought maybe he was gonna make it to the top 6 here, but he came back and fought hard to 3rd place.
Grant McKay of North Allegheny finishes in 8th place at 152. Also at 160, Luca Augustine of Waynesburg. He finishes in 5th place.
And that was a deep weight class. Look at the guys in 160. Andrew Siniglia, state champ. Clayton Ulrey, world team member, state runner-up. You had Luke Nichter, former state runner-up there. Luke Augustine placed at the Ironman. So, yeah, that was a deep weight class.
195 pounds, Nick Marcinelli of North Allegheny. He finishes in 8th place. And also at 285 pounds, Ben Grafton finishes in 7th place.
Yeah, overall, I think North Allegheny, I'm sure they would have liked to get Dylan Coy on the medal stand and some other guys battling a little bit tougher. But, overall, they've showed that they're going to be a force, I think, this year in the WPIAL. And Waynesburg as well. Waynesburg, man, they're just grinding it out because you look at teams like Malvern and Waynesburg, they're doing Ironman, Beast, POWERade. That's a grind, man.
Yeah.
You better take the month of January off, because those are 3 of the toughest tournaments in the nation.
Speaking of one of the toughest tournaments, the POWERade coming up this weekend. Wrestling kicks off on Friday, 8:15. That's when the Pigtails round of 32 and round of 16 will be wrestled. Quarterfinals at 7:30 on Friday. Semifinals at 11 on Saturday. And then the finals and consolation finals, a little different this year. They'll be wrestled together at 5 o'clock on Saturday. You look at the weight classes and the brackets and the seeds of however it took place. Mac Church of Waynesburg getting the number 1 seed. Always a little bit tough, but I think 106 is one of those weight classes where you can see some freshmen seeded. But Church gets the number 1 nod here.
Yeah, that's, as you said, 106 is one of those weights where you're probably going to have more freshmen earning those top seeds. Frank Volcano and his staff, they typically do not have freshmen highly regarded, even in the nation that are coming in here high seeds. But Mac Church, I think he's proved it in terms of being a medalist at the Super 32, also being a finalist at Ironman and being a Beast of the East place winner. It's kind of hard not to say that he is deserving of the top seed there, but he's got some serious challengers there. I think Daniel Sheen from Wyoming Seminary, he took 7th at Ironman, the same tournament that he took 2nd. He won the Excalibur title this past weekend, but there's some other really tough guys here. Jacob Van D from Cathedral Prep, he was a champion at the Surge this year, if you remember that, Greg. He beat Nick Allison from Mifflin County in the finals, and those two are both here as well. I really do think that this one's a little bit more wide open. There's some really tough guys from out of Pennsylvania. There's some guys here that you're not going to know their names, and quite frankly, I'm not a huge knowledge base of guys outside of Pennsylvania, but being that I follow guys all across the country, that some of these guys will stand out to you. But there's a couple guys here that I think could make some noise. Pacey Nadjuzak from Mason, Ohio. I think he's going to surprise some people. At Ironman, he lost to Mac Church 6-4, so it was a tight bout here. And I think a guy like Christopher Ernest from Wadsworth, he could do okay. He beat Hunter Swedish 10-5. Tommy Link from Malvern Prep, also a guy to keep an eye out. He placed 8th at the Ironman, 8th at the Beast. And guys from the WPIAL here, Briar Priest from Hempfield. We talked about Hempfield in their lineup. Briar Priest is dropping down to 106, so that bumps Ethan Lieben up to 113, so that gives them a little bit more flexibility here. And a guy that I keep on hearing about is Kalen Bowman from Chestnut Ridge. He was omitted from the top incoming freshman report, despite a lot of people being upset about that. But, you should have submitted his name because I can't know every single freshman. But he's one of the top freshmen in the state right now. He's done just really well for himself, finishing 3rd at the King of the Mountain. He's dropping down to 106. So excited to see how he does. There's a lot of, like I said, there's a lot of room for tough guys here.
You look at 113 pounds, Carter Dybert of Franklin Regional. He's the number 2 seed. Mason Prinky of Connellsville, the number 5 seed. Luke Gabig of Mount Pleasant, the number 7 seed. Not the deepest of weight classes at 113, but Steen and Dybert, that should be a good one in the final.
Yeah, the two top dogs here obviously are Dybert and Steen. Both have state championships. Gary won his in 2018. Carter won his last year. Carter was 3rd at the Super 32 this year, which was probably his best tournament of his career. He just recently won the King of the Mountain up at 120, Eastern Area Champion. Last year at POWERade, he was 3rd. Steen, though, he's the returning POWERade champion, right? So he's the guy that everyone wants to see. And he was an Ironman champion. So these two are two of the top guys in the nation. It's going to be interesting to see how the bracket shakes out. Not a lot of depth, as you mentioned before. Mason Brew from Wadsworth, Ohio. Not a bad wrestler here. I'm very interested to see how Nico Taddy does from West Allegheny. He's down from 120 to 113. And as you mentioned, Mason Prinky, he's a returning state medalist, taking 5th last year. And Nathan Holderbaum was a state medalist last year. So not a ton of depth here. I do expect Dybert and Steen to do battle in the finals.
A deeper weight class is at 120 pounds. Dylan Chappell of Seneca Valley is your top seed. Ryan Michaels of Elizabeth Forward, he is a 6th seed, and he and Jackson Arrington could face off in the quarters if they both advance accordingly. Joey Fisher of South Park, a 7th seed in this one. And you got guys that are, Aiden Lewis, Kai Burkett, not even seeded in the top 8. This one is a lot deeper here.
This is loaded. 120 is absolutely loaded. You got Kyle Hauserman. You got Jackson Arrington. Jackson Arrington was a state champ, a Surge champion. He beat Ryan Michaels in the finals of the Surge. Joey Fisher, a guy who's been very, very solid in his freestyle career. Also a state 4th place finisher. Dylan Chappell, state runner-up, POWERade runner-up last year. Ethan Bergnick from Hempfield, a state qualifier last year. Then you have Dayton Delviscio from Malvern Prep, who was 4th at the Surge. He was 8th at the Ironman, 5th at the POWERade last year, and was a national prep finalist last year. Then you have Gregor McNeil from Wyoming Seminary, who beat Dylan Chappell at the Ironman 8.5. So McNeil's a guy who's not even seeded, right? Yeah. And he's in there, and he has a win over Chappell, right? And then throw in Dominic Chavez from Arlington Martin, who's ranked top 20 in the nation. As a Texas state champ, he was 6th at the Super 32. He's really, really freaking tough. You got Brandon Crowder from Christiansburg, Devin Easton from Parkersburg South, David Bragg from Oscar Smith. Yeah, this is just don't be surprised if some of these big names don't end up in the top 8.
Yeah, it's going to be tough. I mean, you talk about a guy like McNeil who beat the top seed in Chapel already. So this bracket could go all different kind of ways. 126, Curtis Phipps of Norwin, your number 2 seed. Finn Solomon of Franklin Regional, your number 3. Be interesting to see those two guys in the semis if they can both get there. Tyler Simmerman of Derry, he is your number 5 seed. But it's going to be tough knocking off the number 1 man.
Yeah, I mean, Nick Bozakis from Wyoming Seminary is head and shoulders above the rest of the field here. There's no one that's going to come close to him here. Yeah. He's that good. No one's going to get close to him. And that's not me just being, Jeff just doesn't think that anyone's going to beat him. No, they're not. I mean, he's a different animal.
He's the guy. Keep in mind for some of you folks that may not remember, he was the one that won in 8th grade.
Yeah, he won the POWERade as an 8th grader. He's now a sophomore, and he's really good at wrestling. This is a deep weight class again. Curtis Phipps, a guy who we saw win it last year. Luke Lucerne from Council Rock North, who has a win over Phipps. He beat him at the Super 32. He also has a win over Rocco Welsh as well. Finn Solomon, how's he going to adjust at 126? As you mentioned, Simmerman as well. Yeah, there's a lot of just depth here. Even look outside the state. Donovan Whited, Meyer Shapiro from Maryland. He was 5th at the Beast this last weekend. So, yeah, there's going to be a lot, just like 120, fighting to get the top 8 here.
132 pounds, Ali Herrera-Rondon of Seneca Valley. He is your top seed, and we're actually going to be joined by him a little later on in the show. Also, Ian Oswald of Burrell. He is your number 4 seed. Gabe Willishow of Latrobe, your number 6. Cole Hammond of Waynesburg, your number 7. Loaded with WPIAL talent here.
Yeah, the WPIAL talent is definitely strong with Oswald, Hammond, and Willishow. You throw in guys from outside of the WPIAL like Patrick Noonan from Stroudsburg, who was 4th at the Super 32. He's a journeyman champ. He was 4th at POWERade last year. I think he's going to be very dangerous. And then you look at the guy who won the Ironman, because remember, Ali lost in the semifinals. The guy he lost to got beat up in the finals by Drew Munch from Wyoming Seminary. Drew Munch is probably the guy that everyone's hunting for right now, even though Ali's the returning champion. Drew Munch, I mean, he won the Ironman, right? So he's going to be one to keep an eye on as well.
138 pounds, Sam Hilligus of North Hills, your top seed. over Bo Bartlett of Wyoming Seminary, even though Bartlett does have a win over him 2 years ago. Wyatt Henson of Waynesburg, meanwhile, he is your number 4 seed. Jared Kessler of Connellsville, your number 6. John Altieri of Norwin, your number 7.
Yeah, another top-heavy weight class here with Hilligus, Kaiser, Henson, and Bartlett. Bartlett, I think, is the favorite here over Hilligus just because he's had his number in the last couple goes. Now Hilligus is right there, and remember Bartlett took a loss at Ironman. He's 100% beatable, and Hilligus is a guy who can beat some.
It'd be nice to see Hilligus get a statement win.
Yeah, I agree.
He's a stud. He's going to win a lot of matches. However, he's lacked that statement win, right? He lost against Bartlett. He lost last year in the state championships. So he needs that statement win, in my opinion. Yeah,
I would agree with you there. Kind of like Bartlett had 2 years ago when he beat Teasdale and Hilligus.
Yep.
There's a reason why Bartlett is considered one of the top guys in the nation. Not saying Sammy's not, but Hilligus needs a statement win. I think I agree with you there. Henson is a guy who I think needs to battle with some of these big name guys. Kenny Kaiser, how's he going to do down a weight class here? Jared Kessler, you throw in Zach Whitmer, a 2-time state medalist. He's here as well. Jaden Tulance from Arlington, Texas, he's here as well. There's going to be a lot of fun here, but I think the big story is Sammy Hilligus and Bo Bartlett.
145 pounds, Ty Linsenbigler of Hempfield, your number 2 seed. Also in the WPIAL, Antonio Emilio of Seneca Valley, your number 7. These two guys did wrestle on Friday, went to overtime. Linsenbigler won that match. Could see that one again.
Yeah, potentially we could see that one again here. I'm not saying this is just like 126, but it's very similar. You got Lashlyn McNeil from Wyoming Seminary, who I believe is very far ahead of the rest of the field here. Super 32 champ, Ironman champ, won the Excalibur last weekend. Has a win over Sammy Hilligus in freestyle. McNeil's just an absolute stud. I think he's going to most likely get this title here. But Linsenbigler, Gibson, Panero Johnson, a guy we've seen, he was at the Surge this year. I think these guys can make it interesting to see how it finishes out, the top 8. But I think Lashley McNeil is the guy everyone's kind of chasing.
152 pounds, only one WPIAL wrestler in the top 8. That's Connor Redinger of Quaker Valley. He is seated number 7.
Yeah, and you look at 152, kind of an interesting weight class because it starts thinning out a little bit. But you still have some pretty hard hitters, such as Ed Scott from Du Bois, who we saw win it last year. A guy who's really, really tough is Braden Roberts from Parkersburg, South West Virginia. And he was 6th at the Ironman. He was 3rd at the Super 32. Last year, he was 3rd at the POWERade. He has some pretty big wins under his belt. And then don't sleep on Connor Kievman from Wyoming Seminary, 2-time national prep champion from SEM. He's a guy who's just been around forever. And then you got Cam Robinson. Remember him from Council Rock North? Mm-hmm. State finals last year. He's about 6'9". He's a lot of fun to watch. Caleb Dowling, who placed 7th at the Ironman. 3rd in the state, was a state runner-up here. I think guy like Connor Redinger is going to have his hands full. But it's not out of the realm of possibilities that he finishes in the top 8 here. It's going to be fun because, as I said, it thins out a little bit, but you still have some very, very heavy hitters.
160 pounds, Jack Bloomer of Kiski, your top seed. Luca Augustine of Waynesburg comes in at number 3. Brendan Finnerty of Thomas Jefferson, number 8.
Yeah, and you again, outside of the Pennsylvania, John Martin Best from Parkersburg, one of the top guys in the nation. He was 5th at the Ironman, has a state championship from West Virginia. Also was 6th at the Super 32, so he's a guy that I think has proven himself on the national level. Jack Bloomer, on the other hand, we saw him at the Surge. He was a runner-up there. In fact, the guy who he lost to in the Surge finals, Jack Waymeyer, is here as well. He was 6th at the Ironman. I hope that we see that match again because that was a fun one in the Surge finals. Keegan Rothrock as well, but man, Luca Augustine's been wrestling lights out the last couple weeks here, so I expect him to continue that trend and do well here at the POWERade.
Yeah, it should be a lot of fun to see. 170 pounds, Max Stout of Mount Lebanon at number 7. Nick Delp of Kiski at number 8.
I was asked a little bit ago, what's the deepest weight class of POWERade? 170 may be it. I'm not 100% sold on it. I got some other, kind of feelings towards 120, 126. 170 is so deep. You got Ironman champion Tyler Stoltzfus. If you remember him, he was a runner-up at POWERade last year. You have the returning champion from last year from POWERade, Connor O'Neill from DePaul Catholic. He was a Beast of the East champ last weekend. Returning POWERade champ. Again, Tyler Stoltzfus. Then you have state champion Trey Kai from Mifflin County, who went on an absolute tear last year in the postseason. He and Stoltzfus split matches last year. In fact, he lost to Stoltzfus in the POWERade and then avenged that loss a couple weeks later. Then throw in Trent Schulteis from Freedom. Trent Schulteis, who was a state runner-up last year. Unseeded, right? Down at 170. Lenny Pinto, Fargo Cadet National Champion, third in the state last year. He was fifth at the Super 32. Let's, for fun, let's throw in Max Stout, too. One of the top young guys in the state, possibly the nation. He was seventh at POWERade last year. Then, you know what? Nick Delp, state medalist from last year, fourth at the POWERade last year. I think this one's going to be really fun. And then let's throw in Caden Rogers from Malvern Prep. You got Andrew Donahue from Wyman Seminary. I really don't know how this one's going to shake out, but I can tell you one thing. There's going to be a lot of upsets here. You're going to have a lot of good guys. Guys like Jaden Bullock from Oscar Smith, Virginia. He was an Ironman runner-up 2 weeks ago, 3 weeks ago, whatever it was. He's potentially not going to finish in the top 8 here. You got some just absolute studs all throughout from Pennsylvania and outside of Pennsylvania. This is going to be a bloodbath, and I can't wait.
Yeah, should be a lot of fun. 182, Garrett Ninehouse of Cannon McMillan, your top seed. Ryan Weinzen of Norwin, your number 2. Maybe not quite as deep here at 182 as it was at 170.
Yeah, it takes a nosedive down at 182, and that's no offense to any wrestlers at 182. It just means there's more opportunities for you to do well. There's a lot of less studs there. Garrett Ninehouse being a guy who we all know what he's capable of. I think he's kind of like some of the other big favorites we've had. He's definitely head and shoulders above the competition. Ryan Weinzen was third at POWERade last year. He was up a couple weights though. This year he's down a couple, and he's the second seed here. Cole Reese from Seminary. I'm excited to see how he does. He's been a guy who's done well, placed at Ironman, National Prep, fourth place finisher. So yeah, definitely not as much depth here as any weights, but we're still doing okay.
195, Luke Stout of Mount Lebanon, your top seed. Austin Wally of Elwood City, number 3. Braden Roskowski of Kiski, number 4. Justin Hart of Hampton, number 6. Justin Kramer of Hempfield, number 7. This is loaded with WPIAL guys.
Yeah, for sure. And, I think Luke Stout is the guy to kind of watch here. He was a cadet Fargo national champion a few years ago. Nick Feldman from Malvern Prep. You remember him at the Surge, Greg? Looked like a man among boys, man. He's huge. He's really good at wrestling as well. He won the Beast of the East. He won the Ironman tournament. So I think he and Stout, and then throw in Wally too. I think Wally's another one from Elwood City. We don't get to see a whole heck of a lot, but he's a guy who's done very well for himself. Not only on the locally but national scene. He was 8th at the Super 32 this past year, so I think he's going to be able to be in the mix here. But I'm really excited to see Luke Stout up at 195 against a man-child like Nick Feldman here. So, but the rest of those guys are, they're fighting for spots there.
220 pounds for the WPIAL. Dylan Ferretti gets a 6 seed from Hempfield. But outside that, it should be a lot of fun to see several of these guys wrestle.
Braxton Amos, man. Braxton Amos is the real deal. Probably one of my favorite wrestlers. He, obviously is a POWERade champion. He's looking to make a statement here to win his 3rd POWERade championship. Colby Franklin from Seminary. If you remember, he was at St. Joseph Catholic last year. He was runner-up in the state tournament. He's pretty solid as well, up at 220. But I think Braxton Amos is obviously he's one of the best guys in the nation. He's pound for pound one of the top guys. Dorian Crosby, 2-time state medalist, going to Bucknell. He wrestled Braxton Amos in the Fargo finals and got teched by him. Crosby's a stud as well. We saw him at the Surge. But, Dylan Ferretti sitting at the 6th seed. So I think there's some serious room for some WPIAL guys to make some noise.
285, one of the weaker weight classes, I would say, in the tournament. Isaiah Vance of Hempfield, your top seed. GMR Ramos of Cannon McMillan, number 3. Stone Joseph of Kiski, number 5.
Yeah, I'm excited to see Isaiah Vance, because up until this point, he has not really been tested a whole lot. He was third at the Super 32 this past fall, which was a really impressive performance. In fact, he finished ahead of Kobe Whitehill from Brookville, who was a state champion last year. So excited to see Isaiah go against some guys that are actually going to push him. Colt Deary from Malvern Prep, he was from Garnet Valley. He was a state medalist last year. Now at Malvern Prep, he won the Ironman tournament, so expect to see him do well. I'm excited to see where some of these guys like Stone Joseph and GMR Ramos end up. And there's going to be some sleepers here too. I think you're going to see some guys finish on the podium that aren't necessarily in the top 8 here, but it should be a lot of fun to see where all these guys end up.
54 schools will wrestle in the POWERade Tournament, so it should be a lot of fun to see several several teams new to it. I believe 14 new schools enter the mix, several from the WPIAL: Elwood City, Elizabeth Forward, Mount Pleasant, Peters Township, and South Park. Obviously, one of the reasons Mount Pleasant gets in is because of Dayton Pitzer, but he is actually not in the tournament, still injured. Any update on him at all?
I was told that he should be back probably by January. So hoping that's still correct. But definitely wish we had him on the mat here at POWERade. That's for sure.
Again, the wrestling action getting started underway on Friday. Should be a lot of fun to see. Jeff, I know you probably got some picks, so when can we see them?
The picks are probably going to be coming out Christmas. It's my Christmas gift to the wrestling world and the community. Going to give actually a pretty full, in-depth POWERade preview. I'm going to give my picks. I'm also going to be guys to look for, sleepers. It's going to be a lot of fun. It's really in-depth, so expect to see that.
One guy you may be picking, AHR, Alejandro Herrera-Rondon of Seneca Valley. He's kind enough to join us now on the phone to talk about the POWERade as well as the quad meet from this past weekend. Ali, thanks for joining us.
Thank you for having me, guys.
Well, talk a little bit. We first want to bring you on to talk a little bit about this past weekend. Seneca Valley, a great job at the quad duels where you guys picked up a pair of victories. Just wanted you to talk a little about your team, how you guys did, and what the atmosphere has been like after getting those pair of wins.
Well, obviously, when we won our first two matches, we felt very good. We were very confident that was going to happen anyways. But, I mean, our atmosphere with the team is that we're very hungry. You know what I mean? Like, we're always looking for the next best thing. We're always looking to outdone ourselves the weekend before. And we always drive each other to do better. It's just the atmosphere we have in the room. We always push each other. We're always looking for the next best thing. So, I mean, we expected that 100%, and we're looking to keep that rolling throughout the season. So.
And Ali, we kind of saw you to start the year kind of like we did last year at the Surge. You're up a few weight classes, 132. Talk about how it's been for you up a couple weight classes from especially in years past. What's it been like for you?
I have actually been enjoying the process. I actually enjoy wrestling up. Because, the weight cut isn't as bad anymore. I get to wrestle guys that are stronger. I actually think not the guys are easier, but I think they're a little bit less, mobile and twitchy as the guys that they were at 106 and 113. But, I mean, it's a fight, The guys are tougher. The guys are more tacky. They don't care. They don't care if you were a 106-pound state champ or a 113-pound state champ. They don't care what you have been. If you gain 3 weight classes, they're trying to kill you. So I enjoy that. I enjoy that aggressiveness.
And you've been tested a lot already this year. You had Will Betancourt the first week at Cumberland Valley Kickoff. You beat him 1-0 in the finals, and then you went to Ironman where you did well. You finished in third. I know you were the top seed. I know you're probably a little upset about that. How do you feel you've performed in those 2 weekends?
The first weekend, I feel like I wrestled well, but I didn't think I wrestled to the best of my abilities. I mean, me and Will have been wrestling each other since we were 8 years old, So, I mean, I knew that was going to be a tough one. I wish we could have opened up a little bit more, give the fans a little bit more what they wanted. But, I got the job done, so that's really all that matters. But next time I'll keep it in mind. But for Ironman, I mean, yes, I wasn't very happy with the semifinal loss, but I mean, the one thing I could tell myself was just get back at it and get third, and that's exactly what I did. And I was not completely happy with it, but I was very, very proud of myself that I could pull myself together and take third. So.
Yeah, and Greg and I actually talked about that after the Ironman because how you being the top seed and obviously being a 2-time state champ, you were able, looked like you were able to come back really hard and strong in that third place match. Did you watch back that semifinal match, and did you think, because I was right next to the mat and it looked like 100% full separation, did you look back at that and say, man, come on, how was that not an escape?
I mean, I got reminded a lot by my coaches saying like that's right. One. I mean, there was actually a lot of pictures of me having full separation of the match.
I may have one of those photos for sure.
Yeah, I mean but I mean I can't leave it in the ref's hands. You know what I mean? I can't always even though it looked. I watched it multiple times, believe me. Yeah. But I mean, I can't leave it into the ref's hands. I can't let it take it to that far into the match. I get to more of my offense next time, and I do what I do best, and get the job done early in the match. But I mean, when I look back at it, I feel like I had a great tournament. That I had a good match, but at the end of the day, I mean, it's not the end of the world,
And actually, the guy who won the bracket at Ironman, Drew Munch from Wyoming Seminary, he's going to be back. You're going to potentially see him at POWERade because Wyoming Seminary is coming out to POWERade. Talk about POWERade, because last year you were kind of the star of the show, if you will, taking out Kirkman Henry in that crazy match. How are you going to outdo yourself this year at POWERade, and what are you looking forward to most, because you're like you said, you're up a few weight classes.
Well, I mean, the fight is the best part, just going in there and seeing what they have to offer and see what I can actually challenge myself with. But, I mean, it's not like I want to, I mean, obviously I want to outdo myself that I did last year, but I mean, just getting a POWERade title in any way possible I can. I don't care who I have to wrestle, and just have the best guy in the country, guy that just came out of nowhere. It doesn't matter to me. I'm there to win it. But I mean, I know Drew very well. He's a very tough wrestler. Obviously, he won Ironman. My bracket, he can do some damage. But it's just I'm gonna go in there with full expectations that I'm gonna win it. So.
Al, you made a big decision over the offseason in committing to Oklahoma to continue your wrestling career. Talk a little bit about that decision that you made.
That decision came with a lot of conversation, a lot of heartwarming gifts with my parents, seeing what would be the best for me, and what I can think about in the future, and going through a week of just talking with my friends about it, and my parents, my coaches, to see what's actually the best for me. And I mean, I think that was definitely the number one, just because. I felt like I was at home when I finally got out of the airport, and I got to see everything, and I got to see the campus, got to meet the guys. It just felt like a place that I'd never been before, and just the fact that Lou Roselli, that the head coach, he can do a lot of damage, with making you the best wrestler you can be, just looking past college and being an Olympic champion is my goal. World champion, he can help me with that. But just the fact that I can go over there and feel like it's my second home is really what helped me make that decision.
What other colleges were you looking at and considering?
I was looking into Pitt and Rutgers and Virginia Tech.
I know you have a relationship with Keith Gavin as well. Was it tough to turn him down to go to Oklahoma?
It was super hard because I think my last two top picks was Oklahoma and Pitt, and I know every single guy in the Pitt wrestling team, so it was just very hard to turn those guys down because they're like I know those guys since I was 8, 6, 7 years old. It was just especially all the coaches down there, they're insane. They're awesome. They've been helping me out also as well in the off season. So, I mean, it's no hard feelings, but I mean, it was a very hard decision. So I had to do what I had to do.
Allie, when you look at this year, obviously being a little different just because you're up so many weight classes, is it in the back of your mind like, hey, I gotta get that third state title regardless of what weight I'm at, regardless of who those opponents are, because obviously you're going to have some different faces. Does that stay in the back of your mind at all when you're talking about going up to 132?
I don't really think weight class is a big deal to me. Whatever weight class I'm going to be in, I feel like I'm one of the top guys as it is. So, I mean, the third state title is obviously the goal, but I'm looking through this year. I'm looking at the POWERade I'm looking at POWERade Tournament right now, and then I'm looking for team stuff. Then I'm going to look in the individual aspect. But I'm just here to enjoy the process. Whatever weight class I'm in, I'm trying to win it as it is. So third title has always been in my mind, fourth state title. But if it doesn't happen, it doesn't happen. I'm just trying to get better. Whatever happens. I'm just trying to enjoy the process.
And when you said about the team, I mean, obviously Greg alluded to it at the quad meet, doing very, very well. Guys really stepping up. Talk about your teammates like Dylan Chappell, Emilio, and Vlasnik, and even Liam. You guys just had a really good performance. I'd say Chans is wrestling really well. Anywhere between 106 and 170, you guys are pretty solid. How far can this team go?
I think a team state medal would be very possible for us. I mean, see, we can't make any promises yet. Like, we're not trying to look past each other, because we haven't won a WPIAL title yet. That's the first thing we're looking for. So, I mean, all those guys on our team, they're driven. We're all driven. We're in there every day after school, practicing, trying to beat each other up. Trying to, whenever we have questions, we ask each other things, we're like, what would you do in this position? We just talk through things. Like, it is not just Chance and Antonio, those are the, more experienced guys, but even our freshmen, they're pulling up through us, for Evan Vetter, Tyler Chappell, and even, some of our newer guys that are 10th graders. So, I mean, they're all in there with our team. They're stepping up when we didn't think that they were going to do so. And, they're ready for the competition. They're ready for, anything that's coming to our way. So I feel like that's what's most dangerous about our team, is that we're fearless right now. We're looking for the next best thing.
That's awesome. Hope you guys can keep that going as you head into the new year. Hey, thanks a lot for joining us today, Allie. We really appreciate it. And best of luck as you head into POWERade this upcoming weekend.
Thank you. Have a good holidays, guys.
Thanks, Allie. Yep, you too. Thank you.
Thanks to Alejandro Herrera-Rondon for joining us on the show. Always great to catch up with him. A couple other tournaments coming on this past week, or this upcoming weekend, in addition to the POWERade. We talk about it so much that these tournaments are still solid outside of the POWERade as well. Southmoreland tournament has a lot of WPIAL schools in the mix, a bunch of those being the AA schools. Also, the Steve DiAgostino Holiday Classic, that's at West Mifflin. That also, in addition to a lot of AA, AAA schools, also features the city schools as well. So pretty much the entire WPIAL Pittsburgh area will be at one of these three tournaments.
Yeah, I think we said that earlier, that I don't know any teams that aren't actually competing in one of these three tournaments. So yeah, it's gonna be a fun weekend. A lot of good stuff before it to end 2019.
Make sure you stay with us all weekend long as we update you through PA Power Wrestling as well as Rockfin, as we get you up to date on all the results. And make sure you always follow us on social media. Where at, Jeffrey?
Twitter, Facebook, Instagram, at PA Power Wrestle.
At PA Power Wrestle. Okay, I want to thank AHR for joining us on the show. For Jeff Upson, I'm Greg Warnock. Thanks for listening in to WarUp on a WPIAL.